Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Well, hello and happy Friday, everyone. It's Paranormal Review Radio Night with me, Anthony Agati.
And me, Lucy Liebfried.
Yep, it's that time again when Lucy and I infect your mobile devices, laptops, computers, and your minds with the ever-fascinating topics of the paranormal. And, well, there's no real cure for this type of infection, so you might as well just enjoy the symptoms, like inquisitive thoughts of the supernatural, chronic hand motions to pick up your phone and call in, loud outbursts of disbelief at your computer screen, and a feeling of strangeness and wonder all over your body. This show can become addictive, so I caution your listening.
Do you all up there listening have paranormal fever? Because we've got a great show tonight, and you're all invited to call and share your stories with us. Our phone lines are open, and the number to call is 661-244-9831. We also have a chat room that's open, so please feel free to chat, to converse with other listeners and discuss. And, Anthony, I guess let's tell them what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, tonight, if you guys out there who are listening right now did not listen to our last show last week on Wednesday, Lucy and I actually investigated Prospect Place. And it was a first for us to investigate this place. And it was, Lucy, sort of like a sidebar with you on this. Before I got there, and I had mentioned this to you, before I had gotten to Prospect Place, I had no real, I guess, inclination that there was going to be anything going on. You felt it. I know you were telling me that you felt something was going to happen or that we were going to see things or hear things, right?
I could feel it. When we first talked about going there, I was excited. I didn't have any clue as to what was going to happen, merely from reading, accounts and watching the shows that have been done there. But the closer we got to the date that we were going to go, the more I kept feeling, I knew that there was something there. I knew I felt things, and I just could not wait to get there. I had no clue what was going to happen. I had never imagined, anything. I had no clue. All I knew is that there was something there, and I could feel it. I could feel it all the way here at home. And I don't think we were disappointed.
No, not at all. We had done a lot of research, and I do want to make a correction right now, because during the investigation, I mistakenly spoke about a girl named Constance. And the reason why I had mentioned the name Constance was because I had done some research on my own, separate from what Lucy and I did together, and I had found on the web, which I've learned not to believe everything on the web, I found a couple of sites from other paranormal investigation groups, and two of them actually had said and mentioned a Constance, who was the girl who had died on the premise of Prospect Place by falling off of the portico during a winter evening because of illness. And it wasn't until after we investigated that I came across that was wrong information. So I apologize to everyone who listened last week and to Renee, actually, who was helping us on the show from the comfort of her home while we were calling upon the spirit of Constance. There is a girl who had died. The story goes that she had died at Prospect Place, and it was believed as she could be, a servant's daughter or a family friend. They're not really sure of the true story of it, but there was a girl that had died at Prospect Place. It just was not Constance. So please forgive me. That is my apology. That is bad reporting, and that's bad research on my end, but you live and you learn. But nevertheless, we still were trying to conjure up a spirit of a little girl, and we conducted the investigation partly for about an hour and a half, maybe about an hour and 40 minutes, on air live last Wednesday. And with the help of Renee Stillwell, who I just see right now. She's coming to chat. Hi, Renee. And we were in the child's room, or the girls' room of the place, while we first started off our investigation live on the air. And Lucy, why don't you tell everybody, or just sort of recap what went on during the live show and the investigation in the girls' room, and then upstairs in the ballroom.
Okay. Well, basically, we got there. We drove up. It was about 5:30, and our first view of this mansion is just unbelievable. We got there.
Lucy, you don't have to go into all of that. I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's
I'm sorry.
fine. No, we got there, we got settled down, and then we got ready to start the show. And we had a good friend of ours, Thea, call, and she gave us a little background on Prospect Place. She has some close ties there. And then Renee gave us a call. And Renee was kind enough to call us, and she actually astral projected herself to be there with us. So she was able to kind of get a feeling and kind of help us guide along to make contact with this young girl. So we had gone upstairs. We went into the girl's bedroom, and Anthony had brought a doll, this lovely little doll, and we had already set it up in the room. We had set up a DVR where the DVR was focused on the doll. And Renee was able to pick up on this young girl. Now, while Renee was doing that, I was sensing that I could feel the girl she was in there. So basically, Renee kind of like helped us find out where the girl was going. I mean, both of us could sense that something was going. We were feeling cold spots. She was able to communicate with the girl. The girl obviously liked the doll. She was a little hesitant at first, but we could feel her moving towards the doll. I mean, just by the cold spots that were happening. So we went into the room. We're sitting there, and we're watching the doll. All the while, this young girl, the spirit of the girl, was moving towards the doll. We were hearing footsteps that were like out in the hallway. We felt a vibration in the room that was close to the windows that are out to one side. And Renee was able to pick up on the spirit of a man who was in the corner. And he was kind of like watching us interact with the spirit of the girl. And he kind of like told her, oh, they're okay. It's okay. You can go near the doll. Renee was able to get from the young girl that she was going to call the doll Annie. And we pretty much were able to interact. Now, as far as hearing things, we didn't really hear anything audibly. But when you go back and you listen to the show over the air, you could pretty much hear through the lines beeping, and there were like little noises that were coming through. I don't know, Anthony, when you listen back to it, do you agree that there was definitely something.
Yeah, there was a definite pinging noise. If you do go back and listen to the show again, you do hear a pinging noise. And Lucy, you made a good point that, and I didn't realize until after you had said it, that when we were listening back to the show online, that this pinging noise only happened when we were in the girls' room. It did not happen when we moved up into the ballroom up on the third floor. And funny enough, though, with Renee, while she was on the line, that sort of noise or similar noise of that nature, I've heard on Renee's radio show as well, which is Renee Live, and she's also on Blog Talk Radio. We've heard, and I've heard in her previous shows, similar types of pinging noise, or sort of what we had called at one point in the chat room was like Morse code. And it, from my understanding, and I believe Renee had explained this, or I think Nina, who is also has been on Renee's show, had mentioned this, that it could be sort of the wavelength or the energy that the spirits are sort of conjuring up and affecting the vibrations within the telecommunications or within the airwaves. And funny enough, it was very weird that it only happened in the girls' room. It did not happen in the ballroom. And I wouldn't say it was a coincidence, but the girls' room is where we received the best, I would say the best piece of eyewitness account that we could have ever experienced at a paranormal investigation. But damn it, it was not on our DVR recorder or video. It was not recorded because we had taken that down at that point. But just to let everybody in on it, the doll that I had brought in to give to this little girl, we placed in the middle of the room, in the girls' room, went about our investigations after the show, and at some point during the night had taken down the DVR system just because it's just a lot of work to do. And took it down, and then where did we go? We went down into the basement to just do one last investigation down there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came back up, and we noticed that the doll was on its back. It had actually moved maybe about a half a foot, and then the doll was on its back. Now, there was no windows open at all. There was nobody else in that building but Lucy and I. So there's no way that this doll could have been blown, in my eyes, by any natural causes, unless somebody snuck into this building and did it on their own. But there's no way that could have happened.
There was no one in that building with us, no one. And the thing that was funny about it, what I remember is that you had jokingly said right before it happened, well, I'm just going to take the doll back home with me. And I think at that point, your camera, which was on, and it was on this table that was in this hallway, because we kind of like made our makeshift broadcast studio on the second floor, and there was a couch, and there was a table and a lamp, and we pretty much set that up as our broadcast. And you had been, this actually happened when you were pulling up all the wires, and you were putting the wires together. Then all of a sudden, you had jokingly said, well, I'm just going to take that doll home. Your camera went off on the table. It was on. At the same time, we heard the noise in the room. You walked into the room.
I was going back and I was listening to the audio recording, and my audio recorder was still going on at that point. And you can hear us talking. We're in that sort of hallway area on the second floor outside of the girls' room, and we are. I'm wrapping up all the wires, and I said to you that my camera had gone off, and at the same time, I had mentioned to you that I had heard a noise coming from the girls' room, but I don't know why, Lucy. We never actually went and checked it out. We never went into the room to check to see what the noise was. We just basically wrapped everything up and then went downstairs into the basement to finish the investigation that we had. So, shame on us. I should have left the DVR on all night long and just waited till 6 a.m. to clean it all up. But it was a great experience that we had. And
it was an awesome experience.
It really was. And George, George, the current owner, George Adams, he is absolutely great. We appreciated his hospitality. He greeted us. He took care of us. If there was anything that we needed, he gave us his phone, his cell phone number and anything that went on if we needed him for anything during the night. Even if it was 4 or 5 in the morning, we could call him and he would come by. So I just wanted to say thank you and extend a big thanks to him for that, for allowing us to come into his home, his place, and investigate that night, because what we have actually is a ton of EVPs. I think, Lucy, this is the most that we've ever come back with. With Rolling Hills, and I think Rolling Hills Asylum that we did, that is like an EVP mecca. It has tons of spirits in that place, and we've gotten some really great EVPs from Rolling Hills. But I was shocked and surprised to come back with 9 full EVPs. And I'm not saying that they're Class A, but they're pretty good. They're pretty well, and I think that some of them are intelligent. I think they're not just residual sort of audio recordings. Some of them have been or are responses to the surroundings of what we were doing or what we were saying. So I thought that was pretty effective, and I'm really proud of ourselves for actually doing that. I hate to pat myself on the back for that, but this is great. This is what we do this for. This is why we investigate. We go out there to do this and come back and hopefully share this stuff with other people. And I'm happy to say that we have actually 9 EVPs. And in addition to that, Lucy was able to actually decipher and catch 3 recordings of voices on her spirit box. And, Lucy, those were intelligent responses as well. Right?
Yeah, they were. They definitely were. I mean, the feeling in this building when you go in there, and I have to mention this, never being there before, I had no idea what we were going to feel when we walked in there. And I know some people say that you'll feel negative. I did not feel a single negative thing in this building. The best way I can describe it, it's like going to a relative's home, and you don't exactly live there, but you know that you're welcome and you know that you're comfortable. And personally, for me, that's how it felt. I was entirely comfortable. Now, not to say that I didn't, there were a couple times that, when we went up to the ballroom, there's definitely a presence up there, and it's not exactly what I want to say, a warm and fuzzy entity. And, of course, in the ballroom, there's the stories about how when the house was abandoned, certain people went up there and they were doing, negative things. There were rituals that they performed up there. When we went up to the ballroom, and we still had Renee on the phone with us, and we went up there, I mean, there's definitely cold spots. There's definitely activity up there. I mean, at one point, we actually heard scratching on the floor. Anthony, you were the one that first heard it. And there's definitely, because the ballroom on the 3rd floor is in a U shape. And basically on one side, there's a door that you come up. And we pretty much set up on one side. Well, on the other side, you can definitely feel, and I felt this entity there. I could sense his presence, but it was almost like he would come out and he would look at us. And I do say he because I to this day, I will swear that it was a male presence. Now, I know that people say that there's children up there. I didn't really feel children. I felt adult presence. Well, this entity kind of like would come out and kind of look at us, and then it would kind of move back in. It would go back and forth.
That's exactly what I felt up there. I felt as though they were, whoever it was, and I do feel that there was a male presence. I didn't feel children up there. I'm not an expert sensitive or anything like that, but when I do have feelings, they're pretty accurate most of the time when we do paranormal investigations. And I did feel a male presence up there, and I did feel that somebody was up there, sort of trying to watch us, check us out, look at what we were doing, but in a very negative tone, and then hide back into the shadows again. The difference that I felt, as opposed to what you felt, Lucy, the main part of the house I felt comfortable in. I felt warm. I felt not welcomed, but I felt as though, everything was okay. The basement of Prospect Place, I'm getting chills right now just talking about it. I did not like. Flat out,
Yeah.
I just did not like. And you know what, though? It's not a matter of not liking whatever the spirits that were down there. I just didn't like the way that they presented themselves to me. And the theory that I have is because I'm a white male. I think because it is the Underground Railroad system, it is part of that history, and that is the place where these folks went to and stayed in that basement area, that it may have been some sort of, residual hatred, who knows, or more of, not a hatred, I don't want to say that word, but maybe it's
it
just
was like a distrust.
more. I'd say that
they
again?
They didn't know who you were. It's like a distrust.
Right. They weren't sure about me, and they made that completely well known to me, because when we went down to the basement twice during the night, and the first time that we went down there, I felt as though, and everyone listening right now, if you close your eyes and picture this, if you're in a room somewhere that you don't know, and there are people in that room that they don't like you. You weren't invited to this room. They don't know who you are, and they're not sort of happy that you're there. And the feeling that I got was, and I can still sort of picture it, it's almost as if it was like 6 or 7 entities or people around me in the front of my vision, and all I kept seeing were these heads all around me, just staring at me, not saying a word, not giving an expression. It was just staring at me. And to me, that visual that I got, it's sort of like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? I don't want you here, or please leave. And I kept getting that through our investigation down there, and I actually had to interrupt what we were doing and what Lucy was trying to do as far as the spirit box, and I had to say, Lucy, I'm sorry, we have to leave. I have to go. And one thing to add to that, though, as we were leaving, as we were walking out of that little room that we were in, which is that's the well room. That's where they, in those times, they dug deep down into the dirt to sort of create a sort of refrigeration system for their meats and their foods and produce and stuff. As we were leaving that area and going towards the front of where the door was, I felt, now I didn't feel anything, but it was the sort of the essence or the presence of all of them, all those faces that I had originally saw within my mind, not pushing me, but guiding me out the door. It was a completely unwelcoming experience that I had in there. I didn't think that there was anything that was going to happen to me, but I felt as though they just didn't want me there, and I just had to go. They just wanted me to leave, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, see, and the weird thing about it is my experience in the basement was completely different than yours. The minute we first got down there, when we first did our initial walkthrough, it was like, it hit me like I was thinking of things in my childhood. It seemed like a place where I used to play. It felt familiar. It was dusty. It was dark. It was so dark. But when we first got down into that basement, I didn't feel anything like you did. It was almost like I knew that they were there. I could feel them there. And they were fine with me. They didn't have a problem with me at all.
I was just reading the chat, and Noah just mentioned something. Maybe it was fear. And maybe it was fear that they were feeling, that they were fearful of me, and that energy was being projected at me. I kind of agree with you, Noah, on that.
Yeah, because, of course, being a white male, I'm brown, so I was fine. They didn't have a problem with me. I didn't feel any of that. But I could visibly see, because when you first went down there, you were fine. And then all of a sudden, it was like I could visibly see you becoming uncomfortable. And you mentioned something that it really struck me. You had said you never leave your flashlight on when you go somewhere. You kept your flashlight on all the while we were down there.
I never like to use the flashlight, never, because it can always give a false reading. Even if you're trying to cover up your flashlight and have it as a sort of quick light instead of having to turn it physically on, I don't even like to do that at all, because it could give you a false anomaly or false vision that you may think is in the room. I completely like to turn it off. I use my video camera to see. I don't need a flashlight, really. But you're right. I could not shut that flashlight off. I couldn't do it in there.
I was feeling uncomfortable for you, but I felt nothing. And in fact, when we were down there the first time, you had the motion detector. And where we were sitting, there was a door directly across from us. And I could sense someone in that doorway just like standing there looking at us. And at one point, I shined my flashlight that way. And the first thing you said to me was like, did you see somebody there? Well, I didn't physically see them, but I could sense them standing there. And I think at one point, the spirit box actually said they wanted to come in. And while we were sitting there, after the motion detector was set up, it went off. It definitely went off.
Yeah, what you're talking about is I had just purchased a new what they call the shadow detector, and funny enough, on Ghost Adventures tonight, the guys investigated Gary Galka and his home, and in regards to his daughter Melissa passing away, and Gary is a phenomenal inventor of paranormal tools and equipment, and one of his new pieces is this shadow detector, and I had purchased it a couple of weeks ago before we went to Prospect Place. And basically you set it up. It's two pieces. One is a light and one is a receiver, basically, and anything that passes in between it will beep. And there's two modes. It will beep if it just passes through, and it will do another sound and flash lights if there's a presence that stays within that sort of ray of light beam that's going to the detector. And it went off. It went off in that doorway at around the same time that I was feeling those feelings, and that Lucy was sort of encouraging whoever was outside of that room to come within. And after that had happened, that's when I started to feel the presence even more and feel the anxiety even more to leave that room. And after that, that's when we left.
And I am so proud to say that I went back down. We talked about it at the end of the night. I went back down there, and I went by myself. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to talk to them. And I pretty much had told them, Anthony's a good guy. He's got a good heart. Please let him come down. And I think after I had spent the time down there and I kind of like explained who you were and that you just wanted to come and communicate, when you actually came back down into the basement, you didn't get that feeling again, did you?
No, it was completely blank, but we actually got activity. So there was presence there, but I didn't feel that fear, as Noah was talking about, or that unwelcomeness that I felt the first time. But why don't we? I don't know if there was anything else, Lucy, that you wanted to talk about. Did you want to go over anything else during the night?
No. You know what? Let's just go into the clips, and then as we go through the clips, then we can just elaborate on each one.
Okay. I'm going to do. Yeah, sure. I'm going to go down the list, and I'm going to start with your spirit box responses. Is that okay?
Okay, but can I say something real quick? If anybody out there in the chat room or anybody listening, if you've been to Prospect Place, give us a call. Okay, the number is 661-244-9831. Share your experience. What happened to you when you went to Prospect Place? Let's compare. Experiences. Okay.
All right, so the first one is the Anna one. Do you want to set that up?
Okay. Basically, when we had been in the second floor. Renee had mentioned during the night that she felt the presence of a female, and she kept feeling sadness. So for those of you that don't really know the history, just let me give you a kind of brief mention of what it is. Anna is the eldest daughter of G.W. Adams, and she married a gentleman named William Cox, and they ended up living in the home after old G.W. had passed away. William, at one point, got up one day and said he had some business in Zanesville and that he had to go. William never came back. He got on a train and left. He was never seen again. Well, technically he was seen, but that's another part of the story that we can get into a little bit later. Anna remained in this home, and she stayed there until she passed away, and she was heartbroken. She was so heartbroken. So when we were upstairs and when we had Renee on the line, she had mentioned that she could feel a female presence, and she felt the sadness. Well, I had been feeling it too. So as we were going through the second floor from room to room, and actually even up in the ballroom, it was like Anna was following us. She was following us around the building. And whether it was to watch over her home or whether to see what we were doing, I could definitely sense her. So at one point we're in one of the bedrooms, and I don't remember exactly. I think, Anthony, wasn't this like in one of the second bedrooms? And
this was in Anna and William's bedroom.
Okay. We had the spirit box going, and we were just, filming, taking pictures, letting the recorders run. And at one point, the spirit box, a voice comes through, and, well, let's just play it, and then we can let them hear what it said.
Okay.
Hello? Who was that? Is there anyone here that can talk to us?
Okay, I don't know if you guys could hear that clearly, but the box definitely said it was a male voice, and it comes on and it says, Anna. It's Anna. So I'm convinced, I know for a fact that Anna was following us. Anna was there. And the voice that came out of that spirit box definitely said, Anna. It's Anna.
All right, let's stay on the second floor there, because we moved into then the third bedroom, which is it was a parlor and then also was a bedroom, and this is the one from your spirit box where you received the voices or you received a response that says Annie, and then it was Demon, I believe.
Mhm.
All right, let me play this one. This one's a short clip.
Okay. Did you just say demon?
It's a demon.
Okay, and then the third and last of the spirit box responses that we got was one down in the basement. And I don't remember this one, Lucy. Do you remember when you caught it?
Oh, God. This is the one. I'm trying to think. Let me look at this, because there were a few, but none of them were really that clear. Oh, I know. We were asking questions, and at one point you go, "Do you like music?" And we got a response.
Oh, right. Okay, here we go.
Feeling like I'm not wanted yet.
Oh.
Is that help?
No, this is okay. I know what it was. Do you hear what you had said? You go, "I feel like I'm not wanted here," and then the box goes, "No."
Well, I could have told you that one.
So they definitely. I mean, it really was intelligent. The response that we got, it was intelligent. There were people down there, and they were definitely communicating with us.
Okay, so let's get into some of the EVPs. We've got about 9 EVPs. Some of them are a little bit difficult to hear. I will admit that right now to you. But some of them are clear and plain as day. So the first one I'm going to play is up in the ballroom. Let's start in the ballroom first, and then we'll work down to the basement. The first one that I have here is from the ballroom. It's what we hear is a sort of noise, and then you're going to hear a voice that says it's recording. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's an intelligent voice that's sort of visually seeing that we are video recording or audio recording. I'm not sure what it's reacting to. But you're going to hear some sort of noise, and then you're going to hear what sounds like to us a voice saying it's recording. I'm going to play it a couple of times.
Did you make that noise?
I'm going to play it one more time. This one is, I don't know why you can't hear it on here. Hold on. Let me play it one more time.
Did you make that noise?
Lucy, we can't hear it on here.
I know, it's real low. That's okay.
This one is real low. All right. Well, we've got other ones. Okay, so staying in the ballroom, we hear moaning noises, and you're going to hear Lucy clear her throat, and it happens, I think it happens directly right before you clear your throat, and then it also is happening over you. So you know it's not you doing it, and you know it's not me because I'm not anywhere near the recorder. So let me play it again. Hopefully you can hear this. Let me turn the volume up. Okay, let me play this now for you. Okay, did you all hear that? Let me play it one more time. It's some moaning noise, and just like what we were saying about it being a male presence, that does definitely sound like a male voice moaning in the ballroom up there. Let's stay in the ballroom, and this one's a good one. This one's the ballroom response to Lucy. Remember this one, Lucy? This is the one when you were saying, I can feel you moving back and forth.
Yes.
And the response that we got from this, what we can make from it is it's saying, can't be in the middle. Okay, so Lucy is basically feeling this presence moving back and forth, and its response to me, to us, we think it's saying it can't be in the middle. So let me play this. I'm going to increase the volume. Hopefully you can hear it.
You're moving back and forth.
Who is it?
I don't know.
And we basically heard something, but we weren't sure what it was at that point. I'm going to play it again for you.
You're moving back and forth.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Do you hear that after Lucy says, you're moving back and forth? It says, can't be in the middle. Let me play it one more time.
You're moving back and forth.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's very faint. It's faint, but it definitely says can't be in the middle.
Okay, let's move on. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lucy.
No, one thing I do have to mention, when we were in the ballroom, the temperature, we had the temperature gauge, and it basically stayed at 51 degrees. But while this thing was moving back and forth, the cold spots that we were getting, at one point I was so frozen that I was literally shaking. I mean, you could, even if you couldn't sense it, you could feel the cold spots. It definitely was moving back and forth. It was checking us out. It definitely was there, and it was moving around. It didn't stay in one spot. It kept moving.
Yeah, there was one point I remember up in the ballroom there as this was going on, when you were saying that you were feeling cold. I had felt cold, but it was very weird. You know, when you're outside or if you're in a drafty place, you feel a breeze come through. You tend to pretty much feel a breeze coming through either on one side of your body or from the front or from the back. When you said you were feeling these cold breezes, I had felt a cold breeze, but it was very isolated. It basically was only within my my right leg area and my hands where my camera was, and I had my camera basically at stomach level, and we were sitting down at that point. And I remember feeling a coldness within my right leg area and where my hands were on the camera, but nowhere else. My arms were not cold. My face was not cold. That side of my body was not cold. It was only my leg and only my hands that were holding the camera. So to me, it sort of was as though that there was a presence standing in front of me and then possibly then moving back to where you were. And that's probably where we got that response where it says it can't be in the middle.
Mhm. Okay.
All right, so let's move down to the basement where we've got some pretty good EVPs down there. And actually, I'm sorry, we have two more spirit boxes. I didn't know we had this, Lucy. We have two of them. One is, do you want to talk about the one that says sorry when you said you were cold?
At one point, okay, we're sitting in the basement, and the cold spot comes. And I'm sitting there, and I just happen to go, like, oh, my God, I am so cold. Well, the spirit box responded to me, and a little bit later on, it does say, it says the same thing. I said I was cold. The spirit box said it's cold.
Well, this one here that I have is, it says sorry, and I'm assuming it's responding to you saying that you were cold. So let me play. It's a very short 7-second clip. Hold on.
I'm very cold. I'm very...
That was great.
Reminds me of somebody saying that at a
big... They were very kind to me. I don't know why they didn't like you.
All right, so the second spirit box response that we got from the basement, this is what is there for me. Do you remember this one, Lucy?
Yes.
All right, let me play it. It is another 7-second clip. Here we go.
What is that?
Let me play that again.
What is that?
Now, I'm
what
not
the spirit
sure.
is. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what it was referring to, but I do know, I'm not sure if this was the first time or the second time we went down there. Now, the second time I went down there, I had brought, you had brought some little fake candles, and I had that with me, and I'm not sure if it was responding to that or if it was the first time it was after you had pulled some of the equipment out of your bag. And I'm feeling that, because I know they were very curious about what we had and what we were doing. So my feeling is that it was trying to say, what is there for me? What do you got in there?
Probably. But I think that was actually pretty good, because a spirit box is running through the channels very quickly. And I think it stays maybe not even a second or two on one station before it actually then hits a second station. And for it to come out, and I'm sure everybody's seen this all on television and explained 1,000 times about a spirit box, for it to come out and actually say a sentence, what is there for me, that's more than a second. That's more than 2 seconds. To be able to have those words come out in one single voice, one tone, is pretty amazing. I don't think, I've never heard anything from a spirit box in my own presence have it come out with a sentence like that. I've heard one or two off words, but never like that, Lucy.
Well, see, and to go back to, I've always said that the spirit box is my favorite piece of equipment. I have, since my first one, and this is my second one, since my first spirit box, and I'm going to go back to the Stanley Hotel when we were there, I have had some really amazing things come out of the spirit box. In the Stanley Hotel, I actually did get not quite sentences to that point, but I got like couple words, intelligent responses. Here in this building, the things that were coming out of the spirit box to me were amazing. And these are just some of the clearer ones. There's a lot of things that we have on recorder that you can hear words, you can hear sounds, you can hear a lot of things coming out. And like Anthony said, this mechanism, it just sweeps back and forth. There's no way that the things that were coming out of this box were just being picked up off of a radio station. These definitely were voices. They were definitely saying things. I can't say enough about the spirit box. It is definitely amazing to me. I mean, aside from, and I like it better than doing the EVPs because it's like it's an instant. I don't have to go back and I don't have to listen to it. It's almost where you can actually interact with the spirit right then and there.
Well, while we were down in the basement, there is, we had found a binder. And in the binder, there were maybe 10 pages or so of some history of the Underground Railroad, and they had some verses of some songs that were sung during that period of time. And a lot of these songs or hymns or prayers, maybe if you would say, were contained hidden messages for the Underground Railroad and for the slaves at that time to sing and use and learn so that they knew where to navigate across the country during the night. And a lot of these verses and songs taught them the way to go north. And when I found the binder, I thought, you know what, this would be a great opportunity to read some of that history that was printed on these sheets and also read the song. I wasn't going to sing it, but I was just going to read the song and read the words, and hopefully that may sort of bring upon sort of some sort of energy for them to come out and speak to us or communicate or get some sort of reaction from them. And I started to read one of the verse, and it was oh my God, I can't even remember the name of it now. Which you'll hear it though.
Story of Peg Leg Joe.
Right, it was the Peg Leg Joe story, and it was something gourd. River
follow
gourd.
the drinking gourd.
Follow the drinking gourd. Thank you, Lucy. And I started to read the little history about this song and then started to read the song itself. And during the process of reading this, it must have stirred something up, because as I'm reading it, we hear disembodied voice or disembodied moaning coming from, I don't know if it was coming within the room, Lucy, or if it was coming from outside. I still don't know if it was coming, meaning outside of the room in the hallway in the basement area. I just don't know where it was coming from or why they were just doing that. I'm not sure if it was just a reaction to what I was talking, or if it was just me talking, they were moaning. But listen to this. This is about a minute and 9 seconds long. And here I am reading the story and the verses, and you'll hear me stop. And at that point, you're going to hear the moans, and you're going to hear it twice. And we both hear it at that moment, and I'm glad that my recorder was on and it actually captured it. So take a listen to this. Let me just turn up the volume a little bit. I may adjust it as it's playing. Okay, here we go.
The trip from the south to Ohio took most refugees a full year, so they were encouraged. Is that you?
No. I heard that.
To leave in the winter to make it to the Ohio River the following winter. As the Ohio is too fast and too wide to swim across, it was best crossed in winter when it was frozen. The first verse instructs slaves to leave in the winter, when the sun comes back, refers to the winter and spring when the altitude of the sun at noon is higher each day. Quail, a migratory bird, spends the winter in the south. The drinking gourd refers to the Big Dipper. The old man means Piglet Joe, and the great big river refers to the Ohio River. That wasn't you?
If you notice, as I was reading this, and I noticed it as well at the moment, I had started to get shortness of breath, and my face started to sort of like clog up like I had a cold. And that was the only point and the only time in the night that this ever happened while I was reading this. And I started to, I felt as though I had just ran 2 miles and stopped and just started to read this program. And I don't know what to make of that, but I thought that it was pretty amazing that we were able to capture that moaning noise.
Well, okay, at one point when you kept asking me, is that you? I have to mention something else that happened to me, and this physically. When we were in the basement, at one point, my stomach starts growling and making all of these noises. And all the while we were in the basement, it would not stop. I noticed that when I was upstairs, it wasn't happening. Only when I was in that basement. And afterwards, I thought to myself, because we made sure we ate dinner before we got there, I was not hungry. I definitely wasn't hungry. But while I was in the basement, my stomach kept making noises. And it dawned on me afterwards, if I had been one of those travelers, one of those refugees that were down there, I would have been hungry. I would have been starving. My stomach would have been growling like that. While I was in the basement, that's what I felt. I physically felt it. I also felt being very, very tired. Now, while Anthony was reading this book, I could sense there was somebody, because there was like a little bench that was in front of, there's like this, each room has a little fireplace, and the fireplace was what they had used to keep the people warm. And there was like a little corner that was in back, and I was standing in front of the fireplace. Anthony was a little bit in front of me, and he was reading. I could sense someone in back of me, almost like they were hiding. And at one point I did say, it's okay, you can come out and listen. But it was definitely in back of me, and my stomach, of course, was going, which is why Anthony kept asking me, is that you? Because it was just making noise, and it wouldn't stop. It really wouldn't stop.
And you, just to clarify, your stomach noises, whatever they were, hunger pains or whatnot, they were a popping noise.
Mm-hmm.
They were different than this moan. They weren't a growling, like my stomach growls when I'm hungry. Yours was making this weird popping noise, if I may say that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't ever remember my stomach ever making a noise like that. I've never heard it. It was weird. I could physically feel it, but it was popping.
Yeah. All right, so while we're also down in the basement, what I like to do, especially in an area where I'm feeling unwelcomed, is I like to sort of ask whoever's in the room permission to do things, either it be a video to record, to be there, to take pictures, just to do things. I like to ask that first. Hopefully maybe I would get a response right then and there. But also it sort of encourages some sort of communication and sort of levels the playing field so that, people who are in there know that I'm there just to not harm them, just to sort of communicate with them, to take whatever I can back with me, take whatever they want to be communicated or to be said back to wherever. And so at this point, which I'm going to then play an audio recording that I have, at this point I'm actually saying, and you don't hear it in this recording because I cut it out because it would be too long, I say, okay, is it okay if I start to take pictures? And I started to snap some pictures away. And at that point, we weren't really saying anything at all. Lucy wasn't saying anything. We weren't doing any EVP sessions at that point. And I think that was at the point when we just got into the room. And this was in the well room. And I just started to take pictures. And then after that, we then continued with our investigation in the room about doing an EVP session and then doing the spirit box session. This was not heard at all while we were in the room. It wasn't until I then did some review work and checked my recorder that I found this recording. And I'm not sure what this is in response to. So after I ask the room, can I take pictures, some time goes by, and then this voice, this EVP comes up and it says, you'll see. This one is pretty clear. I'm hoping that it translates here on Blog Talk Radio. But I'm going to play it a couple of times, so take a listen. It's about 9 seconds long. Let me play it again. I'll play it just one more time.
You can hear it.
Yeah, to me it sounds like a male voice saying you'll see. Now, I don't know if it was just inferring to me that you'll see something on your pictures or what, but, I mean, nothing came up on the pictures that I was taking in the room. But that I thought was pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good EVP that we were able to catch. And, again, all of these audio recordings that we're playing here tonight, I have not doctored. I don't have the software yet. I think I've even mentioned this earlier on a previous show that I actually want to get the software out there, that I'm able to clean these up and to modify them so that you can hear them clearly. This is straight from my digital recorder. And I had a couple of recorders going on that night. I had two Sonys that I basically used. And all of these came from actually one of my recorders. My other recorder did not pick up anything. This one recorder picked up pretty well. And this is, Lucy, this is my favorite one. This is the one that I've had for a very long time that's sort of right now on the fritz. It works when it wants to work. But I thought that was a pretty good, clear EVP. And I'm going to try and put these actually on our Facebook page. I think I can do this through SoundCloud so that it's on there and you can hear it again. Or if you wanted to, you can just listen to the show back on archive. But Lucy, did you want to add anything to that?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, the experiences that we had in the basement, all of these, like I said, to me, the moaning was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. That EVP that you just played, that was clear. I mean, they definitely were communicating. They really, really were.
We had gone there on a Wednesday. That was the night of our investigation, and I know this bit of information because you're able to go on the Prospect Place website and to schedule an investigation, and you're able to see what dates are booked already. And the Monday and Tuesday prior to our Wednesday investigation was booked by, I don't know if it was by one or two other paranormal groups. But it's, for me, I know from previous experience, when you have groups that go into a location and then you go into it the next day or maybe the second to next day, whatever it is, usually that's a good time to do it. For the third person, for the third group that goes in at that point, because the first two groups that have gone in during that week have sort of started the stirring of the pot, if you will, sort of gathering them out, either it be frustrating or calming them. Either way, you've sort of interacted with them, and I think it was good for us, Lucy, that happened, because then when we got there on that Wednesday, they were sort of already, quote unquote, woken up and were either agitated, maybe that's why they didn't like me in the basement, or that they were more communicative for us that night, because again, we've come away with a bunch of these EVPs that I thought were pretty well done. So I think that's sort of a key. If you can try and sort of schedule something, schedule it right after a long period of investigations, if you're able to see that view on a schedule, and schedule it right after, and hopefully that you'll come away with the same thing.
Well, one of the things I have to say about this investigation, what I really enjoyed, that it was just me and you. Going with a group is fine, but there's too many other things that are happening. You don't know if it's someone stepping here. You don't know if it's someone's touching something. This, for me, was really, really good, only because we were like with each other, and we had visuals. I could see if Anthony was doing something. He could see if I moved something. We were able to verify right then at that time if it was the other person doing something. And we also knew that there is no one else around. There's no one on the bottom floor. There's nothing. I mean, there's one point when we're up in the ballroom and we heard the beeping. Now, during the night, we heard a lot of weird beeping. And at one point you said, oh, it's probably the coffee maker, because there was a coffee maker down on the first floor. But you got to remember, we were like 2 floors above it. There's no way, to this day, I will say, there's no way that we could have heard that coffee maker shutting itself off. And to me, it was just awesome because, like I said, it's just the 2 of us, and we were able to verify with the other immediately what the other one was doing, so that we knew that whatever noise or whatever sound we heard was not something that we did.
One of the things that I want to get back to is the story of the little girl. And on that second floor, and during the live investigation that we did last week, some things weren't, for lack of a better word, weren't coherent to us at that moment during the live investigation when we had Renee on the phone. A couple of things. Renee, during the live investigation, Renee had mentioned 2 things. One was that she mentioned that the girl, or I don't know if it was the children or just the girl, the spirit girl, did not want to play hide and seek. They wanted to play Ring Around the Rosie. Do you remember this? Do you remember this,
yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
And the second sort of premonition was of Renee on the phone had mentioned the sensation of feeling as though she was rocking back and forth, that feeling, and she had mentioned rocking chair. Now, getting back to the Ring Around the Rosie one, when that was mentioned, we weren't thinking anything of it. It had sort of left my mind. I completely had forgotten about that until about one point in the evening when Lucy and I were on the second floor, which is outside. We were stationed on the couch and at the table there, right directly outside of the girls' room where we first did the live investigation on air. And I had started to get hits on my EMF meter, my millimeter. Basically, it was reading a higher EMF level. Temperature stayed pretty much the same, but I was getting the milligauss meters. They were going up. Some of them were spiking. Some of them were going up gradually. But the noise, the beeping noise, and the lights were lighting up on the millimeter. And it only happened around this square table that was in the middle of the hallway. So there's space all around it, basically. And as I was standing there, it hit. My millimeter goes off, it hits, and it goes away. I try and move the millimeter to the back of me, to the side, and I move it forward in front of me, and it goes off again. So it basically is forcing me to make a couple of steps forward. As I do that, it stops. I then continue moving my hand around. Again, in front of me, it would only go off. I would extend my arm out, move about a step or two, and it would go off again and then stop. It basically was traveling around this table, this square table that was in the middle of the hallway, and it didn't occur to me until after I went around it, twice I think I did? I just kept following. I said, Lucy, look, this thing is just wanting me to go around this thing. And Lucy and I looked at each other, and what did we say?
At the same time, we looked at each other and we go, Ring Around the Rosies. So we started singing, Ring Around the Rosies.
So we figured, okay, if Renee's right, we're just going to sing Ring Around the Rosie and play with the girl at that point if that's what she wanted to do. And I silly enough, I walked around this table and we sang Ring Around the Rosie, and I fell down. And after that,
amazing.
It was amazing. And after that, we did not get any more hits on the EMF around that table at all. I think it just wanted to play with us at that point, which was pretty cool. Now, the second point that Renee had made on the phone with us while we were doing the investigation live on the air in regards to the rocking back and forth or the rocking chair. And I think we first realized this when we were down in the parlor, George Adams' parlor on the first level. Right, Lucy? We were in the room. You were sitting on the couch. I was sitting on one of the armchairs doing, I don't know if we were doing an EVP or the ghost box session at that point. But I had my video camera with the IR lights. I was able to see in the dark, and I'm panning around the room, and all of a sudden I see a rocking chair. Now, it wasn't rocking back and forth, but I noticed a rocking chair in that room. And then later on in the evening, we went up to Anna and William's bedroom, and as we were again sitting there doing an EVP session, I panned my camera around and I said to Lucy, "Look, there's another rocking chair." I know it's common to have rocking chairs in old homes, but it was just odd that when we did our first walkthrough in daylight, which was about 6 p.m. that night, I didn't notice rocking chairs at all.
Neither did I.
As we did our tour, I didn't notice rocking chairs at all until after the show, and it just clicked when we were doing our investigation what Renee had said on the phone. So kudos to Renee for everything that she did that night. I thought her interjection and her communication with us was absolutely spot on. And I want to point out, if everybody remembers, that during the phone call with Renee while we were doing the investigation, I had asked her about, if you are astral projecting, what do you see around us? And she had mentioned the gentleman at that point in the room with us But then I think it was maybe a few minutes later she mentioned the color blue while we were talking about the doll and such. And funny enough, the doll had a blue dress on her. So
yes.
That's a chill. Yes. That's a chill moment for me that happened. So I thought that was great. And I just want to plug one more time. Renee Stillwell, her radio show is Renee Live on Blog Talk Radio. I believe it is every Sunday night. I don't remember the time, Renee. But Renee, post your link in the chat over there to your Blog Talk Radio site so everybody can check it out. And you've got a great guest actually on this Sunday, so everybody should check it out. I know I'm going to go and do that. So, Lucy, what do you want to get into now?
Let's see, what else do we have?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I have one more EVP.
Okay.
I have one more EVP, and actually this is from the parlor, George Adams Parlor, down on the first floor. And this one, we received a response that says, go ahead. We didn't ask anything. We weren't asking anything to get that response. But it's a 6-second clip. You're going to hear it, and you're going to hear the voice first, and then you're going to hear Lucy speak. So I'm going to play this a couple times so you can hear it. Hopefully you can hear this over Blog Talk. All right, here we go.
You do realize that we have a black president now.
It's very faint, and it's right before Lucy speaks. I'm going to play it again.
You do realize that we have a black president now.
Let me play it one more time.
You do realize that we have a black president now.
And Lucy, I do remember actually now what we were talking about. You were making references to we were trying to sort of try and get an EVP to discuss the Underground Railroad and the success of it and what it actually has done for future generations and for present day right now. And you were talking about President Obama and how, this would not have pretty much happened without the help of the Underground Railroad. And I think that was at that point that we received that go-ahead. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know when we were in there, basically when we first got in there, we knew that this was the room that they had gone, gentlemen would go and they would discuss politics. So in order to get a reaction, we were trying to discuss politics. I mentioned, upcoming elections. I mentioned President Obama. I said, well, you do realize we have a black president now. This probably wouldn't have happened without your help. We were just trying to get a reaction and to get something. And the EVP, it just to me, it just sounds so polite and so nice. And it's almost like it knew what I was going to say. It knew that I was going to speak. And it was just being very, very polite and say, go ahead. Because you can hear it's almost like in a whisper.
Right. And again, I don't know if that was a residual sort of EVP because it wasn't in any direct response to what we were talking about, unless he knew what you were gonna say and basically was saying, go ahead and say it. I don't know if it was that reaction or not. And I'd love to hear back from you guys listening out there what you all thought of this one in particular, or of any of the other audio recordings. Again, like I said, I'm going to try and put this on Facebook, on our page on Paranormal Review Radio, on our Facebook page, and you guys can comment and dissect it and check it out. But sadly enough, though, we weren't able to get any real video of anything. Although I do have, I have a couple of things. One was the reaction of us to the doll on being discovered, being on its back and fallen over and moved slightly, basically. But But the other one that I had gotten, and I'm gonna post it on Facebook, on our Facebook page, because sadly enough you can't see it over radio, is of a video up in the ballroom. Now, this is where Lucy and I sort of disagree on things paranormal. I don't put faith in orbs at all.
And I do.
I know you do. But I can discredit orbs, and if people know me, they know that if they find a picture of something round and blurry or whatever, and they say that this is something, me personally, I can always say it's either some sort of mist, dew, bug, dust. I just don't put faith in it at all. Especially if it's a picture, you can truly tell that it is dust. To me, if it is an orb, if it is something of a spiritual realm, and it contains its own light, or it is of a brightness, but is misshapen, if it's not perfectly round, if it is misshapen in any way, I may give it, another 5 minutes to think about or talk about. But if it is something that is completely round to me, and you can sort of see rings within it, that's dust to me. If something is spotted on video going across, sort of is fluttering, that's a bug to me, and that's my opinion. I know, Lucy, that's not yours, and I'm sure others out there will totally disagree with me. But to me, that's what I feel, and I don't put any credit into it because it has so much doubt. There's so much doubt to things of that nature. I'd rather capture a apparition, shadow figure, stuff like that, and I would put more faith in that, and I would put my car up, and I put my job on the line for a picture or video of that nature. But orbs, I would not. But there are some things that I can't say definitively whether or not it was a bug, dust, or anything of that nature. And I will say it could be something. At that point, I won't say it's paranormal, but I will say it's something. And the video that we caught up in the ballroom, and you'll see it. It was captured on on my DVR system, and it comes. And I'm going to post it on the Facebook page. And this, I didn't even know the shape of it. You can't really tell because of the distance of where the DVR camera was to the shot. It comes from the left side towards where the brick wall is in the window, and goes across the screen, but in a diagonal fashion up towards the ceiling, and then shoots across the ceiling in a very straight line, and then I think it turns direction, and then it disappears. I don't know if that's a bug. It could be a bug. Bugs can fly in any sort of direction. They can fly straight. They can fly in spirals. But this one in particular, it was just odd. And I'm going to put it on the Facebook page, and you guys can comment the hell out of it and shoot it down or boast it up, whatever you guys want to do to it. But I just want to put it out there because that's what we're here for. We're here to just put it out there, and you guys make your decision. You make up your own minds. But I don't know about this one. Lucy, you saw it, right?
I saw it. I definitely saw it because right before you were saying, "Oh, I just saw a light," and the thing that's really interesting about this one is that it's got definite movement. It's not just floating by. I mean, it definitely moves, and it's got deliberate movement. So right before you had said that, I was seeing, because we have been using the laser grid, and in the laser grid, I could see like mist or like something white that was happening. And it was really weird because going back through the recordings, at one point I was saying I could see something. And you go, how can you see anything? It's completely dark. One thing I have to mention, even though we were in total darkness at some points, where we didn't have the flashlights going, I never really had the sense of being in darkness. It was like I could see at all points. I mean, I had so many physical reactions in this building. I was feeling, I was experiencing from the moment that we had gotten there, and in the ballroom when you got this light, I had just seen it, and I knew that there was something there. I didn't see what you had on your camera until afterwards, and it's right about the time that I was definitely seeing a kind of a mist. It never really materialized in front of me, and it also happened again too down in Anna and William's bedroom. There's another video that you have, and I think you already posted this one, where there is another light that's moving, and at that point I was sitting and I could see something over the edge of the bed, pretty much where this light was going. So while your camera is capturing these things, I was able to see mist. Now, nothing ever really materialized for me. I was hoping, I was praying that it would, but I could see definitely white mist, and it was basically in the same spots where you caught both of these light anomalies.
As you were talking, I just posted the two videos on our Facebook page. The one was of just the one that I was talking about of this orb anomaly in the ballroom, and then I just also posted, I never posted this video before, Lucy, but it was the video of what you were just talking about in Anna and William's bedroom, the quote-unquote orb that I got that was over the bed. This one flew from the center of the bed in a sort of swirly fashion up towards the ceiling. Again, I don't know. It could be a bug. It could be something else. I'm not saying that this is paranormal, but again, it's something to think about. It's something to dissect, and it's something for all you guys out there to take a look at and draw your own opinions from it. But if you guys want to go over there now and check it out, or if you're listening to this on archive, you can go to our Facebook page. It is up on our Facebook page as of right now, dated April 20th. So I guess as people are taking a look at that, was there anything else, Lucy, that we should go over if I'm forgetting anything?
I'm trying to think. I think we covered most of the main things. We never went out to the barn. No. We were just so cold. I mean, it really, the cold spots, it was cold. It was very, very cold. And there was just so much going on in the house that I don't think we ever really thought about going to the barn. And
no,
I don't know when we first got there and we first kind of did our walkthrough and we walked over to the barn, I don't know if you felt anything in there. I know I just kind of sensed that it was definitely different. I didn't feel evil, but I definitely felt like a presence in the barn, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that really, made me feel like we have to go back there. I think the pull was basically to the basement. I could not wait to get back into that basement. I needed to be in the basement.
Yeah. So do we have any callers?
No. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, we do. I'm going to pull up the caller here. And hello? Area code 315.
Hello.
Hi, Renee.
How are you? Hi,
I'm
Anthony.
fine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well. I'm doing great, thanks.
Great.
Doing great.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for coming on the show with us last week. We can't thank you enough. It was the first time that we've ever done that, and it's the first time we've ever done a live investigation show like that, let alone having someone like you on the other line with us doing this remotely, which I thought was a cool aspect of it. I haven't heard that or haven't seen anyone else do that. I could be wrong. Anywhere else on either Blog Talk or within online. But I thought it was a cool thing to do, and I think it's actually encouraged me to think about doing this again.
It was definitely a lot of fun, and the energy was just popping like crazy in that place. And I'm just glad that you guys actually do it.
Renee, what were you feeling when you were on the line with us? What was going on at home while you were listening in to us doing that investigation?
Well, I felt many different things. There was so much activity within that mansion, that it just I picked up so many different things that were going on, like with the rocking chair. I was like physically rocking. You know, and you know, I was being pulled. I said my arm was being pulled towards the wall up in the ballroom.
Right.
And you know, I said you need to go over here. You know, go move 3 feet forward or towards the wall, and then you said there was a hole there in the wall. You know,
right.
And you know, just different things that were going on within. I felt like, you know, several people actually were glad that you were there. It wasn't that you were not wanted or not welcome there. You know, you were welcome there. It was their home. They loved having company, is what I felt. They loved having visitors. So there was nothing.
I felt the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't feel that there was anything really negative there. Interesting enough, when you were talking about in the basement, though, is, Anthony, the reason they might have been kind of leery of you when you were down there is because if you think about it, back in the time of slavery, right, and when the Underground Railroads were going, down south, right, where the slavery happened, is who were the ones that were basically dominant and in charge were the male.
Right.
Right, so they didn't trust very many male at all.
Right.
And,
right.
You know,
and I've heard stories from other investigators that say that they've had that same reaction as well, that they felt intimidated or unwanted or unwelcomed, and this was after we had investigated Prospect Place, that I had heard these other investigators saying the same thing. And so it sort of validated my feeling of what I was going through in that basement. And I fully well know that it wasn't towards me personally. It was just me as what I was representing to them that they were fearing or that they were uncomfortable with.
Exactly. And you know, they were warming up to you after a while. You know, when they realized that you weren't there to harm them or to, you know, to take them back. You know, I mean, they're stuck there.
That's why we had, afterwards, Lucy and I were talking, and that's when I suggested to Lucy, I said, maybe you go down there first. Go down there if you spend at least 15, 20 minutes or so down in that space, getting them comfortable or even talking to them about me. And Lucy, you can expand on that more.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing that, and I have to say, Renee, thank you so much for doing what you did, because it was almost like you helped me to sense and feel so much more. I mean, it was like the feelings, I had feelings when we first got there, but after we had interacted with you and you interacted with the spirits, it was almost like I felt like a total sponge. I could feel everything. So when Anthony said, why don't you go down to the basement, I could not wait to get down there. I got down into the basement, and I pretty much, just started talking to them, and I started, explaining who Anthony was and that he was, kind-hearted, he had a good heart, and he's not here to hurt them. And then I turned on the spirit box, and I sat down there in total darkness, and I asked, who's in there. I got a response out of the spirit box that there were 3, and I asked for names. And I asked in particular, I says, I want to know I would like to communicate with the female spirit that's down there. And a male voice came over when I was asking for names, and I got one name that was Little John. And then when I asked about the female, I got the name Peaches. So I definitely felt that they were, they were fine with me. They were communicating with me. And then once I was able to talk to them and pretty much like calm them down, when Anthony came down, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. So the basement, to me, was just so active, and there was so much going on. Now, I know that there was a train accident, and I know bodies of people were kept down there. I didn't feel them. To me, the most dominant spirits that were in that basement were the runaway slaves. And, you know, I had explained to them, personally for me, I didn't like using the word. I, you know, interacted with them. But I do have to say, when we left that basement, and I had brought down a little fake candle, and I turned it on, the minute I turned that candle on, it was like everything warmed up. It was like it felt comfortable. It felt nice. And when we left, I just had such a feeling of sadness. I did not want to leave. I didn't want to go. I felt like I was leaving family members. It was so amazing to me what I was feeling. This whole building was just so alive to me. And everything that I felt, and I truly believe that your interaction with the spirits helped bring them closer to us. So I want to thank you. I can't say enough about this building. I want to go back. I definitely. In fact, I even did on the way back. Anthony had driven east, and I was driving west. I stopped back at Prospect again and took some pictures from the outside and was hoping that if George was around, that maybe if I could get in just to check on the doll. Well, George wasn't around, but I had to go back. I had to go back. There was such a pull for me to go there that I took some photographs from the outside. And I have to say, again, thank you, Renee. Thank you for everything that you did.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And, you know, anytime. I mean, it was a wonderful experience for me. I really, you know, did enjoy it. And when you say warm and welcoming, it was. The whole evening that I was there, you know, during the live broadcast, and it was hard for me to pull myself back, I'll tell you, because it felt like I was a kid in a candy store. And exactly. And somebody said, just go at it, have fun, get all the candy you want, you know. And right. And it was just so active, and it was very warm, and they were living their life and doing what they did when they were here in this physical form, in this physical life. But then again, you know, you were there, you were their guest, and they were inquisitive, you know, and Constance was, you know, being the shy little girl of when somebody new comes into the home, right, friends of mom and dad, you know, and you know, you're going to be a little shy at first.
Well, and, Renee, I did a little correction in the beginning of the show that Constance was not the person who was the little girl. We found out later on that Constance actually, a woman, I should say, by the name of Constance, did die. She died at the age of 21. I'm not sure if she died in the home or not, but Constance wasn't the name of the little girl. There was a little girl that had passed away in the home. They're not sure of the story of where this girl came from, either if she was a servant or a daughter of the servant, or a daughter of a family friend that was in the home that had passed away. So I made that correction in the beginning of the show. You may not have heard it, but I wanted to make that correction so that people know that I finally got my story straight. But it was a mishap that I had received during research. So.
Well, you know, that happens. But, you know, what I found amazing, too, is that, you know, there was more than just one family or generation there, which was really amazing, too. There were several there. And it just, it was just amazing how it all worked together. But they all were just doing their thing. You know, like when they were here, and I loved it. I loved every bit of it, and it was very warm and welcoming. Like I said, you know, there was nothing evil that I felt whatsoever. I felt that you were very safe and very well protected. The ballroom did have, you know, a little bit of a bone chilling moment in it. When you weren't feeling well. You were feeling dizzy and lightheaded, Lucy.
And then
I finally told you needed to sit down, and I spread some energy over you again. But, it just, it still wasn't a bad thing. I think it was more an overwhelming type of sense with the spirits itself that were in that room.
Right.
That you were in there, and I think they were trying to really get your attention more than anything of like, oh my God, you're here, and you heard like a cat scratch, right, Anthony, if I remember right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and things were done up there, and they have souls too, and
Lucy, Lucy and Renee, there's one more thing that I actually wanted to bring up, and I forgot to mention this, that, and this pertains to you, Renee. I think it was after the live show, I think it was, if I go back on my Facebook, you had messaged me on Facebook saying something about going to where there was more light coming in, or go to the room where both...
Where the window had a really bright light shining through it or something like that. Mm-hmm. You needed to go to the room.
Right, and I didn't see that message until I think when we woke up at like 1 p.m. the next day. But when I read your message, again, it didn't click. There is, and Lucy, you and I talked about this when the next day when we were trying to review some of the evidence, that there, on the first floor, there is, as soon as you walk into Prospect Place, on the left is sort of like what they call the home base or command center, and that's where all the groups go to lay out their equipment, set up a home base, put your coat down, your pocketbook down, whatever it is, set up coffee, drinks, and stuff like that. That room, I remember when we were doing our first initial walkthrough at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., as the sun was coming down, Lucy was already in that room that I just talked about, and I was coming down the second floor, down the staircase, and I noticed a huge beam of sunlight coming through that room into the hallway leading towards the George Adams parlor room. And it almost as looked, because everything else was dark, and it almost as looked that there was a bright light. And I said I don't know if, Lucy, if I said it to you directly, if I just said it out loud, I said, do you have the lights on? And as I'm coming down the stairs, I'm realizing that it was the orange, that bright orange sunlight coming through as the sun was going down. And that area is where we were hearing a lot of noises coming from throughout the night, right outside of that home base area. There's another room directly opposite the home base area, which we never really investigated. It was, I don't think it was right. But it wasn't indicated on there of any paranormal activity, so we never really went into that space. But we did hear some noises as every time we would come down to the home base area to sort of regroup and then go on to another room, we would hear some sort of noises out in that area. But it was funny how it didn't hit me until afterwards when I read your message where you said about the more light coming through the windows, that's that area. That was that space that we had noticed afterwards that had a lot of noise or activity coming through the night.
Yeah, here it is. There is a room that has a bright light shining through the window. You will find a gathering there.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. And so, if you want to say...
The gathering room, and you went and you gathered your thoughts, but that would be the room.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you know what, Renee? Thank you so much for calling. Again, thank you for everything you did for us that night. It definitely was an experience having you walk us through everything. I mean, there was so much going on that I know we would have felt it anyway, but I think having you on the air with us was just like the icing on the cake.
Well, it was a pleasure for me to do it, and it was a wonderful adventure for me. And thank you for allowing me to go on your adventure with you and sharing it with me, because it really it really touched my heart, and it just was amazing. The whole thing was amazing, and I'm glad that I was able to do that and to project myself and to really be a part of it, and to help with what I could. But like I said, there was so much activity there, and we talked about on my show last week about ADD and and everything. Boy, you want to talk about triggering ADD, astral projecting to that place. and you pick up much. I can just imagine what it's like being there. But, pretty intense. I'm going to have to make a trip out there sometime. I mean, definitely, and just experience it all in the physical form. I mean, it was just amazing. The things I was picking up, my arm would move, and I would have. The one thing about me, and listen, I don't know how it is with you, but sometimes when I pick up things, or I'm acting the role of being a medium and stuff, and my arm will start moving, or my leg, or I'll start picking up a trait of the other person or the spirit that I'm communicating with.
It happens to me a lot, and it's starting to happen to me more.
Yes, with me too, yes.
The more that we're doing this, the more things are waking up inside of me, and it's just, honestly, I'm going to say my favorite equipment is my senses. I mean, everybody, I know Anthony has so much equipment, and it's wonderful, but basically what I'm doing right now is I'm relying on my senses. But, again, Renee, thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Like I said, we'll touch base again soon, okay?
Definitely. And I did want to, I just want to say thank you again. So I love you guys and appreciate the opportunity that you gave me. So
we love you too.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
right,
Renee.
night,
take care now.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Okay. So, Anthony, I think that's pretty much what we have. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No, I think it was a really great place. It was a really, really good investigation. Again, it's one of those places that initially I thought we weren't going to get anything as far as evidence or activity or anything like that. And, it surprised me. And I'm actually happy that it surprised me, because we came away with great experiences throughout the night, and actually learned a few things and came away with some great evidence that I thought was really well worth it, especially that 10-hour drive there and back. So I'm happy that it was well worth it. Even though I've gone to places and got nothing, I'm really happy that we were able to come away with something. So.
Well, I've said this more than once, and it was my birthday, and I honestly have to say this was the best birthday present I've ever had, ever. Thank you again. But then to everybody out there, if you have never gone to this place, you really need to go. George is currently trying to restore the building, and I'll post the link again. You can actually donate towards the restoration of the building through the Prospect Place website. It is definitely something, it needs to be preserved, and we really need to help George. If you haven't gone there, please do. You have to experience this place. This has definitely gone on my list of places that I definitely want to go back. And if anything from tonight, hearing these clips, hearing the EVPs, if it encourages you to go there, please do. Please.
All right, great. So why don't we get on to news and fan of the week?
Sure. Do we have a little intro music?
No
intro music?
No intro music. You start us off with your news article.
Okay. Well, I have a article from it's from ParanormalOldPueblo.com, and it's written by Cheryl Gardner-Strong, and it's from April 14th. And it's basically the Jersey haunted rental. Do renters have a ghost of a chance in court? And basically what it is that there is a house in New Jersey that's getting more attention than the Jersey Devil. There's been a lawsuit filed over a rental home contract. Now, this family have a paranormal roommate, and this home is in New Jersey, and it wasn't included in the terms of the lease. Now, whether it's a ghost or it's the devil itself, the renters want their deposit back. This couple, and I'm going to mispronounce the name, it's Josu Chinchilla and Michelle Callan, along with Michelle's 2 kids. They left the property in March, and they moved out a week after they moved in. Now, one of the children is identified as Ashley in photos that have been posted, and there's no age given. But in a couple of the pictures that the photos that the couple took of the children, there seems to be the image of a teenager or someone who's, preteen, and she's not identified, and she's not part of the family, and the family is just so freaked out about it. So they moved out of this home a week after they got there. They're trying to get their $2,000 security deposit back. Lights in this building are going on and off by themselves. Clothes and towels are flying out of closets. They can hear sounds of whispering, footsteps, and the feeling that something is pulling bed covers in the middle of the night. Now, none of the things are threatening, and it's not causing any physical harm, but it's definitely happened. And these people are just, they don't want to be there. So there's different opinions being thrown about on this. They don't know if this is a teenager who was in the home and that's causing disturbances around themselves. There's a lot of different theories on it, but there is evidence that's being posted, and I believe there's a paranormal group that actually went in and investigated, and I can't remember what the name of the group is, but they are definitely going to court, and they're going to try to get their deposit back. They haven't seen, right now at this point, it's not sure whether a judge will rule in their favor, but, based on similar cases involving rental contracts, most likely we're thinking that they're not going to. But it is definitely interesting, and it does make you think twice about when you're going to go rent a new place. So basically, we wish them well, and hopefully that they get their money back.
Well, Lucy, one thing I want to add to your story, the paranormal group that investigated is, I believe it's Shore Paranormal from Tom's River in New Jersey.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Just double check that on your article while I'm talking about this. They posted a video of what they are calling, and again, this goes back to fakes, frauds, and scams. They had posted a video, I believe it was from their DVR system, that they picked up paranormal activity in the home, and I guess it was sort of evidence to give to the homeowners as backup to the landlord in their lawsuit. And if you've seen this video online, and you can just, pull up anywhere on Google, New Jersey haunted home, I think it's lease or something like that, and I'm sure you're going to find articles and you're going to find this video. It's from, and I believe, and correct me again if I'm wrong, it's Shore Paranormal from Tom's River, New Jersey.
Shore Paranormal Research Society of Tom's River.
Okay. To me, that video is not evidence. If you take a look at it, they are claiming they had set up in the, I don't know if I think it was in the basement area, but that's neither here or there. They set up bowling pins in the basement. I think they have maybe about 3 or 4 of them set on the floor. And I guess it was to catch to see if any of the spirits, the supposed spirits in the place, would knock them down. And you see them traveling up and down, up and down, up and down the stairs, going in the space all over where these pins are. And the point of which that they're saying is evidence of paranormal activity or something of paranormal activity is almost laughable to me, because you see the gentleman walking past the pin, and it's on the left side of this video. I had to actually watch it a couple of times before I realized what bowling pin they were talking about. It's on the left side of this video. You'll notice that one of the paranormal investigators walking right next to it, and as maybe he's 2 inches away from the bowling pin, it falls down. They're claiming that as being paranormal activity in the home and as evidence for the renters. To me, it's someone walking by a pin and either it being brushed up by their leg or it being the wind action of them moving their legs or whatnot. To me, that's not paranormal activity. So I'm shocked that all of these, the media is actually picking this up and posting this video and saying that is paranormal evidence, which to me is not. But you guys make up your own decision. You guys check it out, and you can let us know what you think of it, or just take a look at it and you make up your own decision. Sorry, Lucy, I just had to add that in there because again it goes back to our
fine.
fakes, frauds, and scams.
Okay, Anthony, do you have a story to share?
Yes. Okay, so my story comes from fatemag.com, and this article was originally published in 1990, but it was recently reposted by Fate Magazine on April 12th of this year. And the article is titled The Titanic, a Disaster Foreseen. And it's really an interesting article, and I found it fitting to talk about now as we just passed the 100th anniversary of the Titanic disaster. Apparently, there were 2 very great and odd predictions of the Titanic disaster. One was written and published in a book, and the other was a dream prediction from an orphan girl in Scotland. Both had pretty accurate predictions prior to the infamous date on April 14th, 1912. Now, the novel, which they were referencing to, was written by Morgan Robertson in 1898, which is 14 years before the disaster. And his book is titled The Titan, oddly enough. And the story is eerily similar to the circumstances of the Titanic, such as a ship sailing in April with full passengers and insufficient lifeboats, and also there was an incident of hitting an iceberg and finally sinking, killing most of its passengers. Pretty odd. The other premonition that was talked about in this article was that from an orphan girl in Scotland that was under the care of Captain Rex Sourden, who was in charge of the city's Salvation Army Corps. Captain Sourden recalls the incident that happened on the night of April 14, 1912 in Scotland, the same night of the Titanic disaster. He was watching a young girl dangerously ill in bed. While resting in his room, someone came in calling for him to take a look at the girl as she seemed to be getting worse. Captain Sourden quickly got up to see the young girl calling for him. The young girl said to him, "Captain, can't you see the ship sinking? Hold my hand, I'm afraid." Captain Sourden quickly told the girl she was having a nightmare, and she responded, "No, don't you see all the people drowning? Wally is playing a fiddle and coming to you." The girl then lay motionless on her bed, and with a last gasp, she passed away that night. The events of this evening happened at around 11 p.m., the exact time the Titanic hit the iceberg. Recalling the accounts of the night, Captain Sourden realized that the little girl was telling him that she was envisioning the Titanic sinking, but couldn't understand what she meant when she said, "Wally is playing the fiddle and coming to you," until later on when Captain Sourden realized his long friend, Wallace Hartley, had taken a job on the Titanic as the Titanic's official band leader. The notable story of the night was that the musicians on the Titanic played music for the passengers to relieve some of the stress of the disaster as the ship was sinking. Believe these 2 premonitions accounts to be true? Who knows? Only you can decide. And that's my story for tonight.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I think it's time for the fan of the week.
Okay. Who is it?
And our fan of the week is, she is always there. She always posts. She's given us support, and we just want to give a big thank you to our fan of the week, who is Nicole Wright. Nicole Nicole out of Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you very much, Nicole, for all your support, and congratulations on being the fan of the week.
That's great. That's great.
So, and I think that's about it. I don't think we have anything else. So, can we mention next week's show?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Next week, with all the interest in The Walking Dead and things that are going around, we are going to explore the world of zombies. So that's going to be our show next week, and we're going to review everything there is to know about zombies.
It's going to be an interesting show. I know a lot of people are into zombies and the zombie apocalypse, so we're going to do some research and sort of dissect the whole field of zombies, why people believe in it, the history of it. Is it true? Can there be a zombie apocalypse? And what do we do? What happens when zombies are coming after us? So it'll be a fun show, maybe funny show as well. But I think we will be able to capture a lot of the folks out there that are interested in this. I certainly am. This is new for me. So next week is going to be all about zombies. So thanks for everybody for listening to us tonight, and we hope you were intrigued. We do invite you back to our Facebook page to take a look at some of the videos that we have posted there. And again, like I said, I'm going to try and post some of the audio clips, the EVPs that we captured, and any of the interesting other facts that we put up there. We always love your comments. We always love your input. And if there is a show topic that you'd like us to talk about on the air, send us an email at paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.